Hi there, this is Miss Dana, one of the cosmetology educators here at the Avenue Academy. Today I'm going to be demoing the State Board Perm wrap procedure. So first thing we're going to do is get our mannequin all draped up. I already have previously done this, but it's a double drape for a chemical process. So you will have a towel, then a drape underneath that you can see, and then another towel on the top. Make sure that that cape is not touching anywhere. I like to bring this bottom towel all the way up to the chin as close as I can, just to ensure that that cape is not going to touch the client's skin. All right, let's get some hand sanitizer on and we'll get started. First thing we're going to do is we're going to section the client's hair. So when we are doing this, we are going to go ahead and pre-section the front portions for our 5 section. There'll be 3 sections up on the top. That way, when we get ready to go into our 5 section, all we have to do is drop those perm rods out in the back and then split down the middle in the back for our 5 section. So this is just something that we're teaching you so that you can save a little bit of time. So I'm going to do that mohawk up on the top because that is where our foils are going to go. And then we'll do one on each side. And I will show you the back of this in just a moment. But we are sectioning out the mohawk all the way down the middle from the very front. Again, this is where your highlight is going to be. Okay. So now, as you can see, I have my 2 corners out here. So now, just real quick before I get started wrapping, this is where those perm rods are going to be. And when you're done with your perm and they tell you that you can move on to the next section and remove the perm rods, all you're going to do is remove those perm rods. You're going to drop both of these sides and you're going to split it down the middle and the back, and then you'll have your 5 sections because you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so let me resection this middle out and we'll get started wrapping. This is going to come directly after your State Board haircut. You will be standing behind the mannequin. For today's purposes, I'm going to be turning it crooked so that you guys can see me okay. You do not have to wrap with gloves on, but if you think that you're going to forget to put your gloves on, you can go ahead and put them on in the beginning. So I'm going to just wet this whole section. Okay. I'm going to get my perm rods out. Right, remember that when we're doing any kind of rollers or things like this, the width is going to be the same size in length as your section is. Let me show you what I mean. So my section, when I sectioned out that mohawk, is the same width as my perm rod. And then also the diameter. So when you're taking your subsections, you want to make sure that those subsections are the same diameter as your perm rods. That's what's going to prevent you from having those overlapping or 2 spaced apart perms. So what I like to show you guys to do is I'm going to get my section that I think is the same diameter, and I'm going to pull it over to the side, and then I'm going to take that diameter like this and I'm going to set it there, and that's the perfect size. So now I know that I can continue with this size of section because it's the same diameter as my perm rod. All right. So we want to always keep our comb in our hand. It's going to save us a lot of time. If for some reason you did a crooked haircut or didn't finish your haircut, you can use multiple end wraps. I'm showing you this way. This one is going to be our vertical end wraps, and I'm just using 2. But you can use as many as you need to make sure all those ends are going to be inside the end wrap, because that's what they're going to be looking for. If you leave ends of the hair out of that end wrap, then they are going to knock you points for that, because those ends will get permed in a weird way. So we want to make sure that our elastic band is right there on the top. You will have 20 minutes to perform this section. Notice I'm not putting my comb down. So this one is the bookend wrap. It's where you just have one and you roll it over. Again, not putting down my comb. Make sure all those ends are inside that end wrap. Remember that the elastic band does not have to go in the little notch that the perm rod provides you, because you need them to be right there on the top, and if they're not, they're gonna mark you for that too. Also for twisted elastic bands, so we just wanna make sure that we're putting that perm rod, when we're securing it with the elastic, that we're making sure that it's right there on the top. It can't be too close to the scalp, because then you're gonna have breakage during a perm. Sometimes it will fit into that little notch, sometimes you'll have to move it outside the notch. I advise taking extra of the perm rods, because sometimes they do snap. That one just did, but they're easy to fix and put back on, so if you run out and you snapped a couple of them, you can always put it back together. Again, making sure that those ends are completely in those end wraps. And making sure that elastic is straight and on the top. Notice I tilted my mannequin's head downwards to get these back lower ones. It's this area that you're probably going to find, I'm stuck on it. This is gonna be the part where you might find that you have some jaggedy ends and might have to use extra end wraps. That's because, remember, we used the razor on the haircut on the bottom part, so the ends aren't gonna be completely straight. So this might be the area where you're gonna need to have double or triple. Just depends. End wraps are so porous that the perm is going to be able to penetrate no matter how many you use. And notice I'm spraying the end wraps after I get them in. That's because it's gonna make it a lot smoother for you to be able to wrap those rods. Okay, now I have all of my perm rods in. I am going to put down my comb and I'm going to stand back to let them know that I have finished. And then they're going to come up to me and they are going to ask me to demonstrate saturation. So this is now where we are going to put on our gloves. If you're not wrapping with your gloves on. It's perfectly fine if you want to wrap with them on, but you don't have to. I find it's easier to grab the end wraps if my hands are free of gloves. Those end wraps, if you have done a perm, you understand. Okay, I'm gonna get my protective cream out. Right, this protective cream is just gonna go on their nape, right underneath that section that we are perming. You don't need to put it around their whole head because you're not perming their whole head. We are just perming this bottom section. So just right at the nape, at the very bottom. Okay, anytime we throw something in the trash, we're gonna sanitize our hands. Next is going to be our cotton. And this cotton is going to wrap around just this section of the perm because again, we're not perming the whole entire head. Just this section, okay? Sanitize our hands. And we are gonna get our waving lotion. And you want to grab, I will turn this mannequin this way so you guys can see. So you wanna grab your rod, your perm rod on both sides, and you're going to go one way, and then you're gonna lift up and you're gonna go back the other way. And then you move to the next rod. You're gonna go one way, and then lift up and go back the other way. And then go, keep going. They will tell you when to stop, or at least I say get 3 of them done, okay? And then they're going to say, please demonstrate a test curl. With your test curl, they might tell you specifically which one to grab out, they might not. With your test curl, you want to start unrolling it a few wraps, and then you want to just push downwards like this so that you can see that S pattern. Because in a real perm, that's what we're going to be looking for, is that S pattern. And then they're going to say, please unroll the rod all the way through to the ends. And what they're checking for here is to make sure that these ends are all inside of that end wrap, okay? So they'll have you pull it all the way out, and they might have you do 1 or 2, but that is your state board perm. So I am going to now remove my gloves, toss them into my trash bin, sanitize my hands, and then I'm going to step back to indicate that I am finished. And there you have it. That is our state board perm procedure for the New Mexico State Board Cosmetology Licensing Exam.